8:24. The sunshine and beautiful day on the way. Manaski's over in Washington Mills at Tony's Pizzeria. And the van, the old WIBX van, is going to CABVI, Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And for tax day, they're taking sledgehammer whacks at the van. And somebody, the window's not been taken out yet, so if you want, you can go over to Tony's, meet Manaski there, and take out the window.
There are a few windows.
Luxury of doing that. Yeah, a couple windows could be taken out.
And you can see it on our Facebook page after the broadcast. You can go to our Facebook page and see the...
Kevin Mellott is a terrorism expert, global security expert, and the president of Erase Enterprises. And here's something that I can't believe we're not even doing right now, but we're not, and that is screening, having TSA agents screen fellow employees. Kevin, good morning. This is not being done?
No, it's not. Not routinely and not at all airports.
So if you're an employee and maybe you wanted to infiltrate the system, you could become an employee and you could walk in any day. They're never going to check you. You could be carrying anything in.
That is a possibility, yes.
Yeah. All right, well, what are your thoughts on that? Clearly, that sounds like a problem.
Well, I'm back to my standard approach, which is how secure does the public want to be?
Right.
The transportation system in the U.S. is critical, especially the air system, because we use it so much for business. If people don't fly, if you remember after September 11, 2001, nobody flew for a period of time, and when they don't, business and the economy go down, and when that goes down, the tax base goes down, and that cuts the military and the intelligence and every other service that keeps us safe and secure. So we really need to understand the big picture of this.
Yeah.
The idea that we all get searched as passengers and get screened, and the employees don't, is a little baffling. But there was a report that came out last year by a study group saying it would be too costly, too expensive to screen all the employees. And my first reaction was, who determined how much money is expensive as compared to the security of the flying public?
Yeah, because what was the latest crash? One of the last crashes that happened
in the Middle East, in the Sinai Peninsula, the Russian airliner was brought down by an explosive device placed on board by a employee of the airport
who was never screened. I mean, how did that get on? And they're like, well, it was the employee that did it. That's how it got on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I come back to a couple of different important points. One, we know that ISIL is inside the U.S. I have a copy of their manual on how not to be discovered by U.S. authorities when operating in the U.S. Okay, it's a published book. So, yeah, they have guys here. They have a training program and a published manual on how not to get caught. So you've got ISIL and other terrorists in the U.S., no question about that. The FBI's got 49 states out of 50 that have got open investigations. That director made that comment a couple months ago. So they're here. Number two is you could have a good person who's put in a bad situation, and the question would be, what would they do? If somebody had family members of an airport employee or they had some kind of a situation where that person was being extorted or exploited, what would they do to avoid danger to their family or loved ones? And so the mere factor is it doesn't even have to be a foreign agent. It could be a regular person who's in a bad situation.
Sure, yeah. Well, we've seen stuff like that, right? I mean, the Malaysian plane, it's believed that guy had something going on. That it not only could be a family issue, but we could be talking about some sort of a mental issue. Right. I want to ask you, I do enjoy, from taking upstate from Albany, taking the train into New York City. I find it to be, you can work on your laptop. It's relaxing. But I'm going to tell you, Kevin, when you get on that train, no one checks you.
Right.
They don't check your bags. They don't check you. Once the train is moving, they'll come and make sure you have a ticket. But it seems to be the most unsecure form of transportation in the country.
Well, I would agree with you. And if you look at where the terrorists have attacked, in Madrid, when they hit Madrid back in the mid-2000s, they hit the trains because people take the train to work in Madrid.
Right.
In the UK and London, they hit the buses and the tubes because that's how people get to work. The U.S., we fly to work, but there are specific trains and specific commuter lines that transport a lot of people to work.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that scenario is wide open right now. I would suggest that when they start to harden our airports and get serious about security at the airports, they better be looking at rail transportation, too, because that'll be the next target.
Right.
the airports become too difficult.
How much are we willing to give up? I think that becomes the question. As Americans, it seems that when, shortly after an attack, we're willing to give up more. As time goes on and we feel more secure, we're willing to give up less. This is the question we have to ask ourselves right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we got to figure out, what are we willing to pay? If somebody came up with this word is too expensive, well, what is the price?
Yeah.
The cost? Do I have to pay $2 more for my air flight to be secure? Well, am I willing to do it, and so forth? I think we also have to look at TSA right now has cut back on the number of screeners at the airports.
Wow.
There was a big issue last week about how many people missed their flights last month because the backup was so extensive because there were so few screeners on duty. And that's another thing we have to understand. We need to get people through. The public needs to do their thing to package themselves and be able to go right through security. We all know what you can't, don't be wearing metal and having metal in your pockets. We have to get really good at that because if you look at Brussels, they waited until the backup was a heavy number of people outside the security checkpoint, and that's where they detonated their devices. So the TSA needs to get their act together and get us through quickly, and we need to do our part, too, to be able to transit through the checkpoint very quickly with no delays.
Very interesting stuff, and we're going to be seeing more and more changes as we go forward. Kevin Mellott, thanks for your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. You do wonder, and I'm going to tell you, rail travel, pretty convenient, and, especially if you go out of Albany, it's a quick ride into New York City, but they don't check anything. Your bags, they don't check you. You're not even ticketed until the train is moving.
Right.
It's really an open door. I hate to say it, but it's a little scary. Hold on, Ted. We're coming right back. Christine with news in 2 minutes on WIBX.